1,000 years had passed since the last whispers of magic echoed through the ancient elven forests. Legends spoke of powerful relics, artifacts imbued with energies that transcended time and space. They were said to hold the key to unparalleled wisdom and strength, coveted by those who could wield them. Hidden within the labyrinthine depths of the elven temples, these relics lay dormant, protected by wards and guarded by a few remaining mages. High above, a dark silhouette pierced the clouds, a colossal spacecraft, its sleek metallic body glinting ominously against the backdrop of a waning sun. Commander Zarek, the alien leader, stood on the bridge, a twinge of desperation etched on his angular features. His people, the Kryler, were on the brink of extinction, their planet ravaged by environmental collapse. Their only hope lay in the ancient relics of Earth, believed to hold untapped power that could revolutionize their dying civilization. "Commander, we are entering the designated airspace," reported Lieutenant Kale, his voice crisp and confident, despite the anxiety simmering beneath. Zarek's piercing green eyes fixed on the verdant landscapes below, teeming with life and the promise of magic. "Prepare the scanners," Zarek commanded, his tone a blend of urgency and determination. "We must locate the artifacts before they vanish from our grasp." The Kryler had spent years studying the elven legends, deciphering tales of magic that could enhance technology beyond comprehension. With the relics, they could rejuvenate their planet and secure their survival. As the ship descended, Zarek contemplated the risks of this mission. The Kryler had long been viewed as invaders by other civilizations, yet he felt the burden of his people's fate resting heavily on his shoulders. Failure was not an option. Meanwhile, in the heart of the elven kingdom, Eldrin, a venerable mage, sensed an unsettling shift in the winds. The ancient oaks whispered of danger, their leaves rustling with urgency. Eldrin, with his long silver hair cascading like a waterfall down his back, convened a council of the remaining mages in the twilight glow of the sacred grove. "Brothers, a storm is brewing," he declared, his voice steady yet laden with foreboding. "I have felt the tremors of magic being disturbed. The Kryler have come, drawn by our relics." The assembled mages shifted uncomfortably, their expressions a mix of concern and determination. Eldrin had spent decades studying the ley lines of magic, and he knew the Kryler sought more than mere conquest. They sought the power of the relics to dominate the universe. "Why should we fear them?" asked Thorian, a younger mage with fiery ambition in his eyes. "Our magic is ancient and potent. We can defend what is ours." His words echoed with bravado, yet Eldrin could see the uncertainty hidden beneath. "Foolhardiness will not shield us," Eldrin replied, his gaze unwavering. "These beings possess technology beyond our comprehension. If they harness our relics, they could become unstoppable." The mages nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. The council decided to unite their strengths, pooling their knowledge to form a protective barrier around the temples. Eldrin and his comrades chanted ancient incantations, weaving spells into the very fabric of the forest, creating a network of magic that would alert them to any intrusion. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie twilight glow across the landscape, Zarek's ship finally landed near a sacred temple. A low hum resonated from the engines, blending with the rustle of leaves. The Kryler troops disembarked, their armor gleaming under the fading light, weapons at the ready. Zarek led the way, scanning the area with a device that glowed faintly in his hand. "Commander, the readings indicate a high concentration of magical energy ahead," Kale informed, his eyes narrowing in focus. Zarek felt a thrill of anticipation. At long last, they were on the brink of uncovering the relics that could save his race. As they advanced, the first signs of elven magic appeared. Intricate symbols etched into the trees, glowing faintly with a pulsating rhythm. "They're protecting something," Zarek murmured, a mix of respect and determination in his voice. "We must move swiftly." Suddenly, an ethereal light burst forth from the trees as Eldrin and the other mages revealed themselves, standing resolutely at the entrance of the temple. "You shall not pass," Eldrin declared, his voice booming like thunder, filled with ancient authority. The air crackled with tension as magic surged around them, a vivid display of colors illuminating the twilight. "Stand down, mages," Zarek commanded, raising his hand in a gesture of peace, though his heart raced. "We seek not conflict but the artifacts you guard. We require their power to save my people." "Your people's salvation is not our concern," Eldrin replied, his eyes narrowing. "The relics belong to us. You may find power in technology, but it pales in comparison to the magic we wield." The air thickened with anticipation as both sides braced for what was to come. With the stage set and the stakes defined, the two forces stood at an impasse. One side armed with ancient magic, the other with advanced technology. The central conflict was clear. A battle for the ancient relics had begun, a war that would determine the fate of both civilizations and echo through the ages. As the first sparks of magic clashed with the glow of alien weaponry, the ground beneath them trembled, heralding a conflict that would forever alter the course of history. The air crackled with tension as both the alien forces and the elven mages prepared for confrontation. Zarek stood at the forefront of his troops, his heart racing with a mix of determination and uncertainty. The mystical symbols etched into the trees pulsed ominously, reflecting the power contained within the temple behind Eldrin and his fellow mages. This was no ordinary mission. This was a desperate gamble that would determine the fate of both their races. "Commander," Lieutenant Kale urged, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment, "what are your orders?" The alien troops, clad in their advanced armor, gripped their weapons tightly, ready to obey their leader. Zarek's green eyes narrowed as he assessed the elven mages, standing defiantly before him. Eldrin, the elder mage, radiated an aura of authority, his silver hair catching the fading light. "We must assert our dominance," Zarek declared, his voice resonating with conviction. "Prepare the stun devices. We'll incapacitate them and secure the relics." With a swift gesture, Kale relayed the command. The Kryler soldiers moved into formation, their eyes locked on the mages, each pulse of the magical energy revealing the stakes of the impending clash. Eldrin raised the staff, its tip glowing with a brilliant blue light. "We will not allow you to desecrate our sacred grounds," he proclaimed. "You come seeking power, but you will find only destruction." The words hung in the air, a challenge echoing through the forest. "Let them come," Thorian, the ambitious young mage, declared, his eyes gleaming with fervor. "We can drive them back. We must show them the true might of elven magic." The other mages nodded, sharing his fervent resolve. Zarek, undeterred, raised his hand. "Advance," he ordered. With that command, the alien troops surged forward, weapons drawn and energy shields activated, illuminating the darkening forest. Eldrin responded with a wave of his staff, unleashing a torrent of magical energy. A wall of shimmering light materialized before the advancing Kryler, deflecting their first volley of energy blasts. The impact resonated like thunder, shaking the ground beneath them. The elven mages rallied together, forming a protective line to channel their magic and shield one another. "Focus your energy," Eldrin shouted, rallying his brothers. "Channel the strength of the forest." The mages began to chant, their voices weaving together a powerful incantation. Vines sprouted from the earth, entwining around the alien soldiers' feet, ensnaring them in an unyielding grip. Zarek watched in awe as nature itself seemed to rise against his forces. "Break free! Use your weapons," he commanded, frustration mounting as he realized the elven mages were not to be underestimated. As the alien troops struggled against the vines, Kale spotted an opportunity. "Commander, we can flank them." He gestured toward a narrow path leading to the side of the temple, a route that would allow them to attack from two fronts. "Do it," Zarek shouted, his voice piercing the chaos of battle. Kale led a small contingent of soldiers toward the opening, their weapons primed, while Zarek continued to face Eldrin, determined to find a way to gain the upper hand. "Your magic is impressive," Zarek acknowledged, admiration tinged with urgency. "But it will not be enough to stop us." He aimed his weapon at Eldrin, unleashing a blast of energy. The elder mage deflected it with a swift motion of his staff, sending the energy ricocheting into the trees, which erupted in a shower of splintered wood. Eldrin's expression hardened. "You underestimate us, Commander. We have defended this land for millennia. We will not fall easily." He gestured to Thorian, who unleashed a wave of fire magic, swirling flames racing toward the alien troops. "Take cover," Kale shouted, scrambling to avoid the oncoming inferno. Alien soldiers dove behind their shields, but the flames licked through the gaps, igniting a few unfortunate Kryler. Their anguished cries filled the air, mingling with the chaos of battle. As the firestorm raged, Zarek spotted Kale's flanking unit emerging from the side path. "Now!" he roared, urging his soldiers onward. They burst forth, catching the mages off guard. The sudden appearance of the Kryler from the side disrupted their concentration, causing a ripple of panic. "Reinforce the barrier," Eldrin called out, raising his staff to conjure a protective shield. But the Kryler were upon them, thrusting their weapons forward, pushing through the defenses with relentless force. In the melee, Zarek spotted Thorian, who was struggling to maintain the flames while defending against an advancing alien soldier. A sense of resolve surged within him. He charged forward, drawing on his energy, and aimed for the young mage. "This ends now," he declared, releasing another blast of energy. Eldrin sensed the impending danger and shouted, "Thorian, watch out!" But it was too late. The energy beam struck Thorian, sending him sprawling to the ground, the magic dissipating around him. A wave of dread washed over Eldrin as he witnessed his apprentice fall. "Thorian!" Eldrin shouted, his heart racing. Anger surged through him, igniting his magical reserves. With a defiant roar, he unleashed a torrent of magic, creating a massive wave of energy that surged toward Zarek and his soldiers. The force knocked them back, scattering the Kryler and forcing Zarek to regain his footing. "Fall back! Regroup!" Zarek ordered, his voice firm but laced with disbelief. They had not anticipated such power from the mages, nor their ability to turn the tide in an instant. As the battle escalated, both sides began to understand the stakes. The relics remained untouched, but the cost of the conflict grew heavier with each passing moment. In that charged atmosphere, it was clear that neither would relent easily. With the forest alive with energy, the true battle for the relics had begun, setting the stage for a conflict that would test not only their strength but also their wills. The clash of magic and technology echoed through the night, a prelude to the war that lay ahead. The fate of both the Kryler and the elven mages hung precariously in the balance, each side willing to pay any price to secure their future. As the clash between the alien forces and the elven mages intensified, the forest pulsed with energy, resonating with the power of both magic and technology. The landscape had transformed into a battlefield, strewn with the remnants of spells and technology. Zarek, standing amidst the chaos, felt the weight of his responsibilities pressing down upon him. Each fallen soldier represented not just a loss, but a step closer to the extinction of his people. "Regroup," he commanded, rallying his remaining troops. The Kryler, battered but unyielding, fell back to form a tighter formation. They needed a strategy that would leverage their technology against the mages' overwhelming magic. On the opposing side, Eldrin remained resolute, rallying his fellow mages. Thorian had been injured, but the young mage's spirit burned bright. He struggled to rise, his resolve evident in his eyes. "We must use the main artifact," Thorian urged, his voice hoarse yet filled with determination. "It can turn the tide in our favor." Eldrin nodded, understanding the stakes. "The main artifact is our last hope, but it is dangerous to wield. We must prepare ourselves for what it may demand of us." He gazed around at the gathered mages, their faces resolute despite the fatigue etched into their features. As the Kryler regrouped, Zarek considered his next move. He had witnessed the destructive power of the mages and knew, They could not underestimate them. We must neutralize their leadership, he stated, glancing at Kale. If we can incapacitate Eldrin, the rest will falter. Kale nodded, determination burning in his eyes. We'll create a distraction. I'll lead a small team to engage Eldrin directly, while the rest of us flank them from the rear. Zarek agreed, understanding that decisive action was necessary to reclaim the advantage. With the plan set, Kale led his team into the fray, the intensity of the battle surrounding them. Zarek focused on Eldrin, who stood firm, his staff raised high, channeling the forest energy. The ground trembled as the elven mages prepared to unleash their full power. Now, Kale shouted, sprinting toward Eldrin with a cadre of soldiers behind him. They weaved through the chaos, evading magical blasts that illuminated the darkening sky. Zarek felt a surge of adrenaline as he joined Kale, the final confrontation looming. Eldrin sensed the impending threat and shouted to his comrades, "Protect the artifact." The mages formed a defensive line, their collective magic swirling like a tempest. The air crackled with energy as they prepared for the approaching Kryler. "Disperse," Eldrin commanded, unleashing a wave of energy that surged toward Zarek and his soldiers. The blast struck, sending them tumbling backward, but they quickly regained their footing, steeling themselves for the inevitable confrontation. As Kale and his team reached Eldrin, a fierce duel erupted. Energy beams clashed with spells, creating brilliant flashes of light that danced through the forest. Zarek focused on Eldrin, who was channeling magic with an intensity he had never witnessed before. "Your magic will not save you," Zarek shouted, firing a concentrated blast aimed directly at Eldrin. The elder mage countered with a shield, but the impact sent ripples through his barrier, threatening to shatter it. "Kale, now!" Eldrin shouted, recognizing the danger. He directed his energy toward Thorian, who was struggling to harness the artifact's power. "Thorian, focus. Channel the artifact's energy into a spell." Thorian, his spirit unwavering despite the pain, nodded. He stepped forward, placing his hands upon the glowing relic nestled at the heart of the temple. "I will unleash its power," he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. The artifact pulsed with a radiant light, responding to Thorian's call. The energy enveloped him, lifting him off the ground, and the forest seemed to responding with an elemental fury. Trees swayed, roots burst forth from the earth, and the very essence of the forest gathered around him. "Zarek," Kale shouted, urgency lining his voice. "We need to stop him before he channels the full power of the artifact." Zarek's heart raced as he felt the tide of battle shift. "Fall back! We must interrupt him." But it was too late. With a thunderous roar, the artifact unleashed its magic in a blinding wave of energy that surged toward the aliens. The force struck like a tempest, tearing through the ranks of the Kryler. Zarek felt its power wash over him, and he realized the artifact was more than just a weapon. It was a force of nature, a manifestation of the very spirit of the Elves. As the energy wave cascaded over them, Zarek and Kale were thrown back, crashing into the forest floor. The remaining Kryler soldiers faltered, their will to fight weakened as they witnessed the raw power of the mages. "Commander," Kale gasped, struggling to rise. "We can't let this happen." Zarek, dazed but resolute, forced himself to stand. "We must negotiate. We cannot afford to lose any more soldiers." He surveyed the battlefield, realizing that the elven magic was overwhelming. Summoning his strength, Zarek stepped forward, raising his hands to signal a ceasefire. "Eldrin," he shouted, his voice carrying over the chaos. "We seek not the end of our peoples, but a resolution." Eldrin, surprised by the sudden call for peace amidst the tumult, paused. The artifact's light dimmed, and the energy around him began to dissipate. "What do you propose?" he demanded, suspicion lacing his voice. "We can forge an alliance," Zarek offered, his voice steady. "Together, we can protect our worlds from future threats. With your magic and our technology, we can find a balance that benefits both our races." A heavy silence enveloped the battlefield as the mages and Kryler assessed the gravity of the situation. Eldrin looked at his fellow mages, their expressions a mixture of exhaustion and hope. After a tense moment, Eldrin nodded slowly. "We will consider your words. But know this. If you betray us, we will not hesitate to defend our land again." The terms were harsh, but they were born from a desire to protect their heritage. Zarek breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that they had taken the first step toward a new beginning. Agreed. Together, we will safeguard the relics and ensure that our powers are never misused. As the remnants of battle faded, a tentative peace settled over the forest. Though the scars of conflict would linger, both sides had recognized the need for unity. The ancient relics would remain protected, guardians of a new alliance forged in the fires of conflict. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the elven mages and Kryler's soldiers began to work side by side, a flicker of hope igniting amidst the remnants of war. The story of their confrontation would echo through time, a testament to the strength found in collaboration and the unyielding spirit of both their peoples.